Hi, I'm going to present to you the digital boardroom now being used from within my laptop and not using the three touch screens. As you can see, every boardroom starts with an agenda, and in this case that agenda is driven by Mr. John Smith, and he has exactly one agenda point on there, which is the boardroom meeting itself. But it's very easy to add more agenda points. My name is Iver van der Zand, SAP Analytics, and let's open this digital boardroom meeting agenda. As you can see that when opening the agenda, I come to the overview page, which you see over here, and you can typically see on my right hand side the content and context pages, which are normally presented on the second and third touch screen. My landing page, my overview page, in this case represents a fictive company that is within the consulting services. The company is based in Vancouver and has a number of employees. You can see them over here with the yellow button. They also have an office in San Francisco and a small one in Germany. Quite important over here is that we combined a various number of sources, being success factor data, which represents the employees, for example. I also have spend data that comes from my Ariba system. And for example, in the case of a consulting firm where consultants go to customers and travel, the travel is indicated with a from to geomap, and we also have travel expenses over here. So this is already a geomap that provides an enormous amount of information. As said, it is about 3 layers with HR related data, the yellow buttons, we have from to data, and we also have a heat map with the contracting spend. My core KPIs are on my left hand side over here. I also have a clock, and this here on the left hand side is an RSS feed with the latest information. And my core graphs on this overview page are the headcount per team, the procurement spend, which goes in the right direction using the color coding indicators. Everything I see, I can hover and I get the metadata. And in a number of cases, I can also click, for example, Q3 and filter it, exclude it, or drill down. I'm going to skip that for the moment. Quite important over here is that you can see in this bar and line chart that we already blended or combined 2 data sources in one table. You can see the travel expenses coming from the Concur system and the spend information coming from the Ariba system. At any moment in time, I can click this and, for example, ask to open the spend details. We will do that later on. If I go to the center screen of the 3, that is the content screen, you can see that over here, and on the right hand side I have the context screen. Let's have a look at the context screen. This is my context screen where I have again some competitive information coming from various sources that I have found on the internet, with their stock prices and also their daily change with color-coded indicators, subscriptions, and over here you see that I have 2 time series driven analysis on the stock price trend and the stock price change percentage. I can automatically have a look, for example, at the 6-month situation, 3 months, or for example the whole year. And again, I can, just to give you an indication, if I want to drill down, for example, in the details of the cloud subscriptions, I could navigate to a certain place where I get more information. First, I go back to the central screen over here, which is basically my content page, which allows me as a user of the digital boardroom to go further into detail. Yeah, so we could, for example, have a look at the diversity of the people in my company, which is listed down in the success factors system. So I'll pick up that data and we get a new overview with the diversity of all people. Here we go. And you can see that I have a number of examples over here where I can play and interact with the data. So I can tick and untick, for example, Canada and Germany. Or I could say, well, no, I'm interested in looking at all of them, but I'd like to see a certain subgroup of my organization. For example, the sales and the product teams. If I want for a certain area to go in a more detailed mode, I can always click the little three dots over here, asking to open that analysis in Explorer mode, which brings me to the following screen, where I can, in Explorer mode, say, well, I'd like to have a look at the termination, for example, and the reasons for people doing that, and I want to know what the exact event reason is to show that, and I want to have that event reason also in my analysis. And over here I've immediately the data that I'm interested in, that I'd like to analyze, especially if I also include the next two measures and split it up per female and male. And over here I can perfectly see what the different reasons were for the terminations split by male and female. Let's go back to my analysis and have a more detailed look at some other data that I have available. For example, I could have a look at the field class flexible workforce data and ask for the contractor details. Over here you see that data indicated, and again I have various types of graphs that I can use and to get the detail level that I'm looking for. I have my interactivity again, so I can control select. I can, for example, just tick one of the bars and say, well, I'd like vector consulting to be excluded from this analysis. All the other charts are automatically adjusted. And as you can see on my right hand side, I even have a more detailed view which I can tick and, for example, drill down. If I want to have a look at the details, for example, in Canada, I can tick it, drill down and look for a more detailed overview in Canada. If I go back to my overview again, then I'd like to show you some other feature that is relatively new in the Digital Boardroom. If I tick this element over here, I get the possibility to use the Microsoft Service extension, and it is possible to, with one click, just by clicking the plus button, invite people over here in my Digital Boardroom. So for example, I'd like to invite Maarten, and if I now tick OK, Maarten is automatically being invited to join my meeting. Well, I don't think Maarten is currently online, but if he would immediately get a notification from me, and he can be part of this meeting that we have in full digital mode. I can also use the annotations. For example, right now by clicking this and saying I'd like to highlight for my audience or the people that I'm talking to for the moment that they need to look at this area. I hope this gives you an overview of what the Boardroom today can do, now presented not from the three screens but for once from my Chrome-based web browser. Thank you very much for your attention.